Mic check 1 2. How y'all doing out there? What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? I hope you can hear me now. What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? Hope you can hear me. Look like, sound like we got the sound. What's going on, everybody? How y'all? Welcome to the Proper Perspective Show. We're gonna get it started. If you're just tuning in, if you're new to the channel, this is Shabazz, your brother Shabazz with the Proper Perspective. We're gonna start today's show. Hopefully, we're gonna get it live for you. What's going on? We done dying for y'all. That's the message for the night. We done dying for y'all. No more. No more of that. You broke it, you fix it. That's the message. So as we get it started, if you're entering the room, let me know where you're listening from. What city, what state? If you're from another country, what country is it? Say something in the chat. This is your brother Shabazz. Peace to all the positive people in the universe. What's good, Richmond, Virginia? Hotep to the Pan-African Black world and whoever is still wise enough to look past and look beyond the smoke and mirrors. This is the home for you. I said at the opening, we ain't dying for y'all no more. They asking for us to come on out there. Is y'all going to the rally? I said, ain't nobody doing jack. That's what I said. So let's get into it. We're going to dig in. And if you're listening over on TikTok, please feel free to come on over to youtube.com/@theproperperspective. Listen here. Let's slow it down for a minute. Clearly, we know which group created the problems that we are all encountering, the problems that they're talking about all over the news. We know who created these problems. 98% of black women had nothing to do with the creation of these problems. 85% of black men had nothing to do with the creation of these problems. But are y'all feeling disoriented? Sometimes I do. I feel a tad bit disoriented and disturbed about all of these problems. And yes, I feel the call, I feel the need, I feel the pull to get suited and booted and head on out for the rallies. Y'all know that No King's Rally is tomorrow. Y'all know that No King's Rally is tomorrow. So I don't know. Is you going? What city are you? Which city are you in? Have you seen the information about the No King's Rally? Now, I'm not saying that we shouldn't go. Shout out to David Battle for joining. I'm not saying that we shouldn't go. But I am saying I'm asking the question. And it's kind of disorienting to me because what I keep seeing, what I keep hearing, what I keep getting told is black folk ain't got no business out there at the No King's Rally. Now, well, like I said, we know who created the problem. And it ain't the black people's job to be the janitors of this mess. So now I'm not saying that there aren't any grassroots people. I'm not saying that there are no black people that are going to, participate. I'm not saying that zero black folk are going to show up. It's not what I'm saying. There's definitely black people who are going to go to the rally. Shout out to you, salute to you. I support you. I support you going to the rally, whether you're black or white, whether you're Asian, Filipino, I don't care. But there's definitely people speaking out and saying don't go. There's definitely a feeling, a zeitgeist, if you will, that we shouldn't be going. Now, if you're not sure if you should be going, if you don't even know what the No King's Rally is, well, I'll give you a little bit of brief, but I'm not going to give you no professional spiel. Please look it up. You can even track it off the hashtags. But the nature of the No King's protest, it's about, it's a sentiment that a lot of people feel about the people in charge. And it's been going on all year. So this is not just tomorrow. It's not just about tomorrow. It's been going on all year. So maybe you went to one or two and you got your cup is full and you're not going to go to tomorrow's. I don't know. Let me know. Say something in the chat room, whether you be on YouTube or TikTok. But however, and please don't be shy about sharing this channel. Don't be shy about sharing the link with other people who might be interested or who need to know something or hear the information. But again, the nature of this No Kings protest, is it just another movement, or is it another leg? Is it another arm to the movement? Now, I would imagine most of you already know, you do remember back in COVID times, we had the Black Lives Matter organization, we had the rallies, we had the marches. Now, not for nothing, it was spearheaded mostly by black people. I'm not saying white folk didn't participate. There were white people on the ground. There were white people in the sponsoring and the advertising and donors and bailing people out. So I'm not saying that that's not what this is about. But the Black Lives Rally was really something spearheaded by and at the behest of we the people, the black folk in this country. Now, whether people think that they were really black, or maybe some people thought they were Latino, or maybe some people thought they were being, put up to it by some other folk. I'm not getting into all of that. No, we don't do that. But all of the white folk, but the No Kings protest, that's what we talk about tonight. No Kings rally tomorrow, October 18th, in a city near you. But this rally has a different feel to it. Now, what is it about, or who is it? Where is it coming from? Essentially, and granted, again, I already told you, this is not the professional spiel on it. This is not the professional official line from the party. But it's mostly hatched up in the white community. The white folk that don't believe in tyranny. Now, they might be mostly Democrats or, some other party. I don't think many of them belong to the elephant party. But they may not be the card-carrying Democrats, so I'm not trying to put that out there either. But they are, for the majority, white folk, maybe Latino folk, who are against the man in charge, acting like a king. They're not against the man in charge. They're not against the man in charge. They're against him acting like a king. Maybe that's a reason it's not necessarily resonating with the 80% of black men, the 85% of black men, I should say, the 92% of black women. But y'all can let me know what y'all think about that in the comment section. But so the No Kings rally is about tyranny. It is about fascism. It's about trying to stop it, to prevent it, to curtail it, to slow it down. But it is the brainchild of the white community. Now, that's not a bad thing. As I said in the opening, y'all broke it, y'all fix it. They don't want him acting like a king. Now, depending on which news station you look at, well, maybe it doesn't depend, because most of them aren't covering the protests. They're not covering the No Kings rally protests the same way they covered the Black Lives Matter protests. It's not a whole lot of glitz and glamour. It's not a whole lot of viscosity to the reporting. Sometimes it's even just a ticker scrolling across the screen. You missed it. But I think that this has a lot to do with the fact that we're not showing up. Most black people are not participating. When they do show you a few images, it may be a couple of spots of pepper on a mound of salt. Now, as part of why I'm asking the question, should we go out there? Should we join the fight? Now, I'm also asking the question, why is there such a media gap? Why is the coverage so much different? Now, I will say, if you don't know, if you haven't heard, there is also been, I don't want to say quiet, but a small amount of chatter among some. Perhaps they are now formally aligned white and Hispanic, white and Latino folks, because they're beginning to get a little bit more vocal as we enter, or as we, we are now in the month number 10 of the tyrannical regime's presence. But they've been vocal online asking, how come black folk don't come? Where are you guys? How come you're not supporting the rallies? Now, I find that rather interesting. I guess, they're so used to us being at the rallies. They're so used to us having boots on the ground. It would kind of make sense for them to ask, where y'all at? And it's part of why I'm addressing this topic in this issue. Because, I mean, like I said, I ask questions. I start checking in with other people. Shout out to everybody joining in on TikTok. Minister Payne, User 304, Lewis, John May, Brenda Shelton, Moneybag, Rabbi. Shout out to everybody joining. Where was I? So, they're so used to us being here. And when I start reaching out and asking and checking in with folk, I'm like, yo, what's good? And here's the thing that I guess leaves me a little bit disoriented. Even activists, grassroots organizers, the black ones, who are usually boots on the ground, they usually tell me, you get the drift? You get the picture? So, yeah, there seems to be a loud absence of the melanated folk. So now here's the question: are these black activists saying this is not exactly their fight? Are we as black people in general? Are we saying this ain't our fight? The word I've been getting is we need to stand down. Y'all remember that famous phrase? Stand back and stand down. We do need to. So that's the answer. That's the first answer I've gotten. We need to stand down. So now, a few brothers and sisters have also added on, like, look, now we ain't stupid. We need to stand down, but we also need to organize. We need to be getting amongst ourselves and organizing. We need to be getting ourselves prepared, because we know fascism is a full-time job. We know once they finish with y'all, whoever the y'all may be, right now it looks like it may be only the brown brothers and sisters of the community. I don't think that's true. I don't think that is true. I think that they are. Now here's where you jump into the media. The media may be making it look like it's only the brown brothers and sisters, and then there would be a reason for that. They don't want us to come out. They want us to think this ain't our fight. That's a possibility. But even if that's the case, like when you start digging, you start to find out it's been some black brothers and sisters getting caught up and caught out there, especially in the major black chocolate cities of the nation. But we do know once they finish with y'all, most of us know, they coming for us. We are wave number 2 in the fascism campaign. So as to the question, are we coming? Where we at? How come we not coming? Perhaps we are merely in research and observation mode. Perhaps we are merely in preparation mode. Perhaps this is our moment. This is our sit down season. But we reading, we writing, we studying, we planning. Plan, plot, and prodigy. Plan, plot, and strategize, as Tupac said. So for the moment, at least, perhaps y'all should be out there. Y'all just go ahead and do y'all thing. Handle your business. You didn't handle your business on election day. So now it's your turn. So the question is, or another question is, if we are sitting out, someone, but why would you sit out? Don't you recognize, don't you understand the importance of what's going on? Well, let me ask you this. When it was Black Lives Matter, for the most part, wasn't it just us getting hurt? Now, I'm not saying that nobody else helped. I'd be the first to tell you, I was there. I was at several of the rallies and the marches. I know that we have comrades who stand in solidarity with us, who stood in solidarity with us. But I also know it seemed like, it looked like, it felt like that it was a lot of just us in that pursuit for justice. And again, it's a feeling, it's the look of it. Now, we were the ones on the front line. We were the ones in the middle ground. We were the ones on the back end and on the side flanks. Other brothers and sisters of other mothers, other brothers and sisters of other hues were there. Y'all were sprinkled in. And we appreciate those alliances. But when the fire got hot, so very many of you retreated. And if you don't believe me, go back and look at the election results. That's one for the books for you. The election results show you just how deeply rooted, just how deeply committed you guys were to the ideals and the zeitgeist that came up out of Black Lives Matter. Record numbers of retreat. I'm out of here. And so even during the Black Lives Matter era, we were getting the overwhelming brunt of the billy clubs, the arrests, the jail records. Who came to our rescue? Who bailed some of us out? There were some rich black folk that would come down. They wouldn't step to the mic. They didn't want to get seen. But they would help in the background. They would help bail people out. That's just part of the reality. That's part of the puzzle pieces that you have to put together when you start trying to figure out what is the bigger picture. Now, here we go, me personally, even knowing all of this, like I said, I know it was majority us, but I know there were a lot of other communities that came out. And I'm still troubled. I'm so very troubled about us not participating in No Kings rally, the No Kings march. But at the same time, if no one else is going, like, I want to go. But if I'm going to be one of a very small pocket, one of a very small number, then I'm like, well, maybe I need to sit and observe, take notes. Maybe I need to be preparing for myself. What do y'all think? How do y'all feel? Say something in the comments. Let me know. Now, and I'll tell you, like, full disclosure mode. Because, like I said, I went to rallies. I went to the rallies of the past in two capacities. In one, I went as a participant. I got, caught up in the zeitgeist, believing in the movement. I went. But aside from that, I also went because at the time I was a struggling journalist. I was a wannabe journalist. It wasn't real. I hadn't been hired by any magazine or any news reporting agency. But I was, I'm sitting up there trying to show up with a microphone and act like this is Shabazz with the proper perspective here live on the ground. That's part of like what I was trying to do when I was going out there. I went to DC, I went to Philly, I went to New York. But now, that was then. Now, I don't even know if I need to be out there with a camera. Like it feels like it seems like, well, maybe, hey, that's a good idea. Go on out there with your camera set up and your little microphones and do your thing that way. And then something tells me, slow down, player. And y'all know that something is probably spirit, the ancestors, tapping me on the shoulder like, hold up, be careful, my child. So maybe I'll just sit on the sofa and watch, and I'll just reach out and ask some folk, how did it go? But the whole thing feels disorienting. So, a part of this conversation that I'm having with you tonight, I'm not here to proclaim and declare a definitive statement, yes or no. I'm really struggling with the idea of whether or not I will go. It's a bit disorienting. Should I really just stand by and let them do the fight? Now, again, conventional wisdom, conventional black wisdom, black protest culture says to me, y'all first. Y'all do that. Y'all run it. We'll be here for wave number 2. Because, like I said, wave 2 is coming. Now, if you're not participating because you think the whole thing is going to blow over, you are sadly mistaken. There will be a wave 2, probably be a wave 3, and we don't even want to talk about that. Probably can't talk about that in public. But wave 2 is coming. I even heard, now this speaks to the disorientation of it all. I heard a report that POTUS, and y'all know what POTUS stand for. I heard a report that POTUS is planning to fire live rounds. Well, not round, that's the wrong word. Missiles. Yeah, you heard me. Live missiles. He wants to launch off live missiles. Where? In California, where it just so happens that one of the largest No Kings rally protests is taking place tomorrow. Live missiles, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all heard me. Live missiles. Now, at first, when I heard about this, I was like, you lying. I'm like, y'all got to be exaggerating. But, Twitter fingers, Google fingers, you do a little research and instantly news reports, news agencies are reporting on it. And they are saying it's out there in the open. This is not like a hot mic. It's not like, oops, the cat's out the bag. The news reporters are saying, yes, as a matter of fact, the plan is for the Navy ships to pull up and begin firing live missiles. Now, look, don't let me raise too many alarms. I am not saying that the plan is to aim and point at protesters. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what the news reporters are saying. I'm just saying it's awfully coincidental. But right now, that's all it is. It's just a coincidence, ladies and gentlemen. It is just a coincidence that the Navy is supposed to pull up and fire off live round missiles in California in particular. Now, let me go a little bit deeper with this whole disorientation. It'll make you feel like the cartoon characters when they be like it's almost like that. Because here's a chess move. 3D chess move, 4D chess move. I don't even know what to call it. But y'all do know that V POTUS, y'all know what that stands for. It's supposed to be in town near that California protest while the live rounds are being shot off and fired. Now, do I need to remind you? Do I need to tell you how odd that is? You don't have to be near the missile to be in jeopardy if a missile is going to do the missiling type of missile thing. Now, this is just, okay, I'm just thinking out loud. But there is historical precedence. If you go look it up, now I don't know if they'll call it peril by proximity. They may not call it peril by proximity, but I might. But let me give a shout out to somebody who also has joined the chat by the name, interesting name, because I've been dealing with this problem on my channel in and of itself. But the brother or the sister, their name is Shadow Band. And they want to posit into the conversation. Appreciate that. Y'all should go check these names out. Stephen Miller and Vault, because they are the real, I'll just say the puppet masters. Organized lawsuits and tax boycotts. There's your buzzwords. There's your study terms for the week, ladies and gentlemen. So shout out to Shadow Band because he's on to something. Or she's on to something. I don't know the gender. Or they's on something because I don't know the gender. But let me move on. Peril by proximity. You don't have to be near a missile to be in jeopardy. Now, a close examination of some historical errors. Carry yourself on over to where? East Europe. Hop on down the memory lane of Germany, and you will discover Nazi tactics that even show the Nazis themselves sacrificed even loyalists to push their agenda. So it's interesting that enemies are calling Antifa a terrorist organization. Y'all don't find that interesting? Have you heard that? Yet another news story. So we got a No Kings protest, one puzzle piece. We got missiles might get fired, another puzzle piece. And we got POTUS saying Antifa is the #1 terrorist organization. Y'all do realize Antifa is not even an organization. It's an ideology, much like Pan-Africanism. It's an ideology. It's a thought. It's a perspective. It's a lens through which to view things. And what is at the root of Antifa, of being an anti-fascist? Like, what kind of environment do you live in when being against fascism becomes the target, the bad guy? You just don't like fascists. Now, I thought that that's what this country was supposed to be about. No kings. Every time I get on my anti-Americanism, I get told, hey, you better be lucky you're here. We don't have fascists. So there is a group marching against tyranny. I can't even. So there are multiple groups marching against tyranny in many cities across the country tomorrow. And POTUS wants to shoot off live missiles. Now, some will say, does it even matter? And I would be like, well, how do you mean? What do you mean, does it matter? Some will say, does it matter that, like, you're putting pieces together that aren't really even on the chess, aren't on the board? Okay. Some will say, does it matter that, is anything going to change? Is anything going to change? Like, even if you go join and participate in the rally, is anything going to change? Now I'll say, so in that regard, okay, valid question. But then, okay, part of my pushback, part of my response, because I'll be the first to admit, in many ways, things don't change. But at the same time, then I would ask you, but what do we want to change? What do you want to have happen? What do you want to change from the protest? Because maybe that's the thing. Like, if you're looking over here at a certain set of objectives, and you think these are the things that must result, and you're not looking over here at another set of objectives, and so maybe it's just your lens that needs to change. Now, again, I admit protests don't change everything. And one of the reasons white folk, Latinos, Asians, At least the ones who are protesting and participating in the rallies, one of the reasons that they complain, at least online, one of the reasons they complain online about us, about black folks not showing up, where y'all at? Maybe it's because history shows progress only happens when we come to the party. When the black folks show up, when the melanated people, when the original man on earth and the woman step to the front. I mean, even the Boston Tea Party reportedly, arguably, I don't want to say led, but who was the first to die in the black in the Boston Tea Party? It was a black man. Now, is this the reason they want us to come to the party? Because our bodies, our lives are exposable, are disposable, I should say. But anyhow, so we got POTUS, and many would say, whether you're 80 years old and you've been following politics all your life, whether you're 18 years old and this is your first real, exposure, you might feel like you may say to yourself, this is unlike anything I've ever seen or heard of. Many people are saying this. This is a part of the public discourse. Now, me personally, I'm not going to say that I see protests as an absolute rectifier of the problem. So if you want to say protests don't make a difference, I mean, tit for tat, tomato, potato, I don't know. But, if you even if you think that the amount of people who are participating in the protest is small and insignificant, so there's no point of me going over there. That's some of the thinking that had a lot of people sitting at home instead of voting. If you think something small, if you think insignificant can't make an impact, spend the night with a mosquito. Now, that's not to say that the puppet masters don't have plans. The puppet masters have plans. They very much indeed have plans. What are you talking about? Y'all remember that show? What you talking about, Willis? Now, quite frankly, yeah, whoever shows up, more so if black people show up, but whoever shows up, puppet masters are going to lean into whatever propaganda they need to. They will make it a photo op, a propaganda op. This is truth. This is fact. And I don't deny that. But what I'm saying is, if anything could change, this is the point. If anything could change his trajectory, I'm not saying you're going to change his mind, whatever is left. But you can change his trajectory. You can change the speed with which they work on further implementation. And what I'm saying is, the only shot at that, at slowing it down, if not preventing it, at curtailing it, if not upending it all. Unfortunately, for the most part, that's only a sure thing if black people show up to the protests. If we don't get involved, they don't have a snowball's chance in hell. So the elimination of voting rights will continue steamrolling on the glorious yellow brick road to tyranny by default. So the only way to stop him, slow him down, is black involvement. That's why I'm talking about this. But I know I've been given the word, just like many of us. We're not about that. Stand down. That's the word. That's the call that most of the official leaders, unofficial leaders, grassroots organizers, they're saying stand down. And so we have this conversation. So we're not about that. I heard the call. I hear you loud and clear. I sit down. Get ready for wave two. That's what I say. Get ready for wave two. We got to practice something. Because to be perfectly honest, if they can't stop their own family members, now y'all catch the they I'm talking about. If the white folk can't stop their own family members, if the Asians and the Latinos can't stop their own family members, because don't get it twisted, the videos are out there. The ICE agents themselves have been Hispanic and Latino and white. I haven't yet seen an Asian, but well, actually, no, I have seen an Asian. I have seen one Asian fellow who was interviewed, and he was talking about how much he desperately wants to join his ICE comrades and work for Uncle Sam and getting rid of everybody. So if y'all can't stop y'all own family members, what y'all expect us to do? We need to be getting amongst ourselves and organizing. Not, y'all go do the protest. We gonna go have a meeting behind closed doors. We need to be planning for wave two. Now, because I got, again, I've been talking about the No Kings rally, and I've been talking about this feeling of disorientation. And to double down on this, I saw this video on Instagram this time where this brother was pontificating out loud. And it was really rather interesting. He was, wondering to himself, thinking out loud. And I know he ain't the only one, because I've been thinking about the same thing. And I know I'm not the only one. I know this is going on. I've read other news reports. There are thousands of people who have already left the country. Many left right after they heard the news of who won the election. They were like, pack, I'm out. And there's been a slow, steady stream of people exiting. One professor, I brought this up in my last show. Y'all should check that out. There's a professor making the news now because he packed his bags. He packed up his family. He bought airline tickets. He hustled himself to the airport. And they said, you can't go nowhere. ICE agents and federales or whatever you want to call them said, nah. We want to talk to you some more. But again, I digress. On to this brother's video, talking and contemplating about should we leave. And he goes on and on, should I stay or should I leave? If I leave, where should I go? These are legitimate questions. And he starts pontificating and he starts listing all these possible places. Now, here's where I got a bone to pick with you. He says, well, I could go to Canada. It's close. It might not be as expensive. It's close. It's still over here in the Western Hemisphere. There's some similarity. I could go to Canada, but I don't know if Canada likes us. They do, it is European-ish. It is white dominant. Y'all know, like W.B. Du Bois said, anytime you start mixing the colors, the hues together, you're going to have the problem of the color line. But he goes to Canada. He said, well, maybe I could go to England. Oh, no, England, they don't really rock with us like that either. Well, I could go to France. France don't really rock with us either. He goes down the list, down, talking about every country he could possibly think of as an evacuation, as an escape, an exit. Damn near like a refugee, but he ends his piece saying, well, there's no way out. We might as well just stay here. Now, let me submit to you. I submit to you. Part of his thinking, y'all see what I'm doing on the screen? Part of his thinking is stuck inside the box. And that's the point. The puppet masters want you stuck inside the box. That's what they want us to think. That's how they want us to think. Y'all remember Q-Tip said, all I am is one black man in a mighty big white hand. Shout out to that brother. Hip hop is the, y'all know. But so here's my thing. You're only looking towards other white dominant countries to flee to. Why is that? That's the non existent box. You don't realize you're stuck inside. In his whole little piece, and I'm not saying it was like this long, drawn out type thing, but in this piece, no mention of any of the 54 African countries on the continent. No mention of Jamaica, no mention of Bahamas, no mention of Brazil. He's literally gotten to the point where he feels like he should at least think and contemplate evacuation. But then he's stuck. Well, which white man do I run to? Which plantation do I go to? Y'all do know we had maroon societies even here where we said, okay, we go, just like the Amish live today. The Amish said, we don't really want to partake in the world. So we go create our enclave, our Amishistan. We're going to create our enclave. We're going to do us, and y'all can handle all that mess however y'all so desire. But don't come over here. We had maroon societies that did that here. He don't think like that. All he think is, which other white country can I go to? Talk about what is that? The pot calling the kettle black? Running from one group of white nationalists and white supremacists to another group? Like maybe the Proud Boys would treat me better than the Klan. Let me slow it down. Let me calm down. It kills me that the desire to see people who look like us don't drive you, don't inspire you, don't inform your thinking. As a matter of fact, it has the opposite effect, or something has the opposite effect. Maybe it's in the training, maybe it's in the teaching, maybe it's in the curriculum. Indoctrination, where we will just knee jerk automatically, instantly start avoiding even the contemplation of going to a black country. People literally get to the point where they contemplate leaving their birth country. And that's damn near a sin. In certain spaces, people act like you were born here, so you're supposed to be here, and you're supposed to be proud of here, wherever the here is. But this is the prevailing notion. Wherever you were born, that's the best place for you. Now, I radically reject that. But I'm challenging it, and I'm bringing it up because even if that is how you think and feel, I'm not down talking you for thinking and feeling that way. I accept that that's how people feel. So I grant you that. That's cool. So you feel like where you were born is the perfect place for you, as long as there is no fascism. Well, lo and behold, we are now entering the era of American fascism. Now, it may not look like the textbook fascism of the past. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to look exactly like that. Otherism is big business. Racism is big business. Fascism is big business. Now, y'all know this country is big business. So again, people get to the point where they feel like, well, maybe this is not the place for me. I'll chuck off the baggage of loyalty to my birthplace because safety is also a priority. Living prosperously is also a priority. And if you're honest about it, any of you Abrahamics, if you believe in practice oriented to, through, and from an Abrahamic religion, all the stars of those shows were people that said, I got to get up and go somewhere else in order to prosper. But here's what's driving this conversation right now. So people get to the point where they contemplate leaving their birth country, and they're willing to chuck off the you belong here. But then They only feel as though belonging, they only feel as though safety, they only feel as though prosperity can occur in another white dominated country. I take issue with that. I got a problem with that. It stirs me. But again, like I said, this is the conditioning that gets taught and put into all of us. You know, many people still think Africa is a jungle. They still think Africa is nothing but poverty. So if that's the way they think, of course, in contemplating, do I leave and go to Canada or do I leave and go to England? Of course, Ghana will never come to mind. Of course, Senegal will never come to mind. Because you think that's just one big, what did POTUS call it? I'm not going to repeat it. Now, this is not a shameless plug, although I'm not above doing those. But it's one reason when I travel myself personally, it's one reason that when I do travel, I do my best to go live and show pictures, take pictures, you know, big camera, small camera, phone camera. I'm taking pictures, I'm taking video, I'm going live from restaurants and grocery stores and museums, everything. Why? I want to show people, at least if you're connected to me, shameless plug coming, youtube.com/@theproperperspective. Hit the like button, share this stream, subscribe to the channel, and you'll see when I'm in all these other places. But that's the reason I do show all this other stuff. Because so many of us don't really know that we are trapped inside a box, that we are highly misinformed about a lot of things outside of this country. So yeah, if I'm in Ghana, if I'm in Egypt, if I'm in Senegal, if I'm in Tanzania, I'm going to show y'all some pictures and some video. Now I may show you some jungle. Ain't nothing wrong with jungle. But I'm going to show you the thriving metropolitan city and areas as well. All over the continent, Africans, black people are thriving. And what kills me is that so many of our own people, they're shocked. They don't recognize, like you literally don't recognize the poverty in this country. Look at California. It might be one of the reasons the No Kings rally is actually like taking off there in larger numbers than maybe some other cities. Because homelessness and poverty is extremely beyond belief in certain areas of California. But all you think is white nation good, black nation poor. So they get shocked when I send them a picture or two. They get shocked when I tell them, go look at this African movie. They do actually have a full-blown Hollywood industry. In Nigeria, they call it Nollywood. The whole Tarzan myth is dead, my brothers and sisters. At least it's dead over there. Like I said, the amount of poverty, the amount of infrastructure poverty and workmanship collapse in this country is enough for you to say, maybe I do need to look elsewhere. And actually, when you think about it, even if parts of African countries are having problems with infrastructure, it's worse. The fact that we are living in the West, we are living in the global North, we are living in the developed world, and homelessness and poverty and child hunger are at astronomical levels. It's worse for this country, for this status. Now, of course, I'm on a soapbox. Why? Because the media don't cover this. And that's why what you will see if you do join, if you do subscribe, you will see different types of footage. You will see different commentary. So I record everything. Content is king for a reason. I try to record as much as possible when I travel and post it immediately. Now, I'm not saying, because I'm not plugging a trip. I'm not saying come with me to Africa the next time I go. I mean, you can if you want to, but I don't have any organized plans for that. And I don't say that you have to go. You should want to, but that's on you. That's a personal thing. But I do this to dispel all of the negativity surrounding our mother continent and the damaging narratives that float out there about our mother continent. Because to me, it's the same thing. Like, okay, I'm still on the soapbox, and now I'm going to talk about the Abrahamics just a little bit more. But please, give me some space. Give me some grace. I'm not trying to offend. But just the same way we are trapped in a box and we're stuck inside a narrative that is against our best interest when it comes to who and what and where Africa is, we stuck in that same box when it comes to the way Black people picture Jesus. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Now, I've had conversations with friends. I've had conversations with family members. Jesus is white. What you talking about? But here's the thing that gets me. Like they say, race is just a social construct. That's a social construct. So is white Jesus. Now, you ain't got to take my word for it. Naeem Akbar said, now there's a brother you need to look up. Naeem Akbar. And I'm paraphrasing, so I'm not, I don't have his textbook, I don't have his book in front of me or anything. But Naeem Akbar said, taught, discussed this idea. All over the world, Christians in particular envision Jesus to look like themselves. They find anything in the textbook to say, see, read this right here. This is how we know he like us. But Black people don't do that. All the other groups, they do this. But Black people insist that white Jesus is the Jesus for me. And what kills me about this, the biggest irony is, we're the ones with the strongest biblical, textual, scriptural evidence not to do it. The actual words in the book can only be ascribed to us. But you go look inside a Chinese church, they got a Chinese Jesus. You go look inside a Filipino church, they got a Filipino Jesus. You go look inside a Black church, they got a white Jesus. What the? And if you step up in there and tell them this picture is wrong, whoo, them's fighting words. So for whatever reason, way too many of us are still stuck inside these narratives that are not in our best interest, spoon-fed to us like some genetic disease, and then we just pass it on down. I'll give you another example. Y'all remember Good Times? Now, I'll bump that, because even if you're young, Good Times is in so much hard rotation. Even young people would know it, would know about it. So y'all remember Good Times. There was this episode on Good Times, that gone famous by now, where the white Jesus, the picture of the white Jesus was taken down. Now that alone was a rumble in the jungle. And for that particular episode, they put up a picture of a Black Jesus. Now, like I said, that alone was revolutionary, considering the time, considering the thoughts that still even linger today. But then, as it so happens, part of the untold story, perhaps. I mean, if you caught it, you caught it. If you know, you know. But if a lot of people didn't necessarily catch it, some people didn't necessarily catch it. And don't get me into quantifying. This is not that kind of a conversation. So some people didn't catch it. But so as the Black Jesus goes up, good things start to happen to the family. But the matriarch of the family just couldn't sit with this. So the matriarch had issues, and the matriarch let it ride for as long as she could, but then said, that's it, it's got to come down. And when they finally took the Black Jesus down, and they put the white Jesus back up. Wouldn't you happen to know it? Bad things happened all over again. Now that's a symbolic battle. That's a symbolic message. There's a theme in that episode. I don't necessarily. Well, I know what the theme is, but I'd rather somebody tell me. Drop a line in the chat room if you saw that episode. If you heard about that episode, drop a one in the chat. If you feel me, say something in the comment section. If you don't feel me, if you disagree, if I got the whole narrative and the storyline and the plot wrong, say something in the chat. Let me know. So now this may not necessarily, I'm going to segue into something else. This is going to be a tangent. I'm telling you up front, this is a tangent. Because I had another issue with that show. I had several issues with that show. I much rather have watched Bill Cosby, The Huxtables. Yeah, I said it. I know a lot of people be like, nah, that's worse. Not over here. I like that show. But one of the issues that I had with Good Times was they always tried to make the matriarch be the heavy when it comes to nobility, when it comes to righteousness. That woman had to be the absolute 100% perfect person. And I don't rock with that. I don't rock with that. For me, there's a line. It may be thin, so we can say there's a thin line, but there's a line between being noble, between being righteous, and then maybe I don't even have the right word for it, but just going too far with it. For instance, I'm like, okay, if you want to stand up, this is whether it's reality or on a show or in a novel or whatever. But there's a difference between you can reject the drug trade. I get it. I understand. Righteous, noble. I don't want any of my family. I didn't bring you into this world to be no drug dealer. I get it. Righteous, noble. That's not going up too far. I got that. But then even when clean opportunities come by and you got to question the morality, I'm like, well, hold on. Now, we live in dire straits around here. And so, like, I'll give you a real life example. At my HBCU, I love my HBCU. Some of the decisions that those in charge make at HBCUs, sometimes, I'm like, hold up, what's going on? Now, let me give a shout out to Shadow Band. He talking about these old TV shows. So he said Benson was bad. I don't know. I don't necessarily know how you mean Benson was bad. Like Run DMC said, not bad meaning bad, but bad meaning good. So I don't know if you mean it that way. I might have to I rock with you on either side, but I might got my own opinion about that. The shout out to anybody else joining me on TikTok. I can't get all y'all names because the joint is jumping off a little too fast. But peace to you, Jordan, Callie Rand, Joseph Neg Port, Top Star Sales. Shout out to you. But let me get back to this thing. So at my HBCU, and this was a while ago. This ain't now. This was a while ago. I'm an old brother. I'm an old head. So at this HBCU, all colleges have stadiums. Our stadium was not in the best of operative status, put it that way. It was much in need of a renovation, a facelift. Now, or so the story goes. Now y'all know corporate America loves an opportunity to advertise. So there was a company associated with liquor, Budweiser, Anheuser-Busch. And they offered to build a brand new state-of-the-art stadium. The administration said, we do want that sponsorship. We do want those dollars. We want that state-of-the-art stadium. But we don't want y'all putting y'all logo on anything. We can't be associated with alcohol consumption. Now, this brings me right back to my point about the matriarch in Good Times. when righteousness goes awry. Because I'm like, now you do know students drink on the weekends. At the very least, students drink on the weekends, regardless of whether or not Anheuser-Busch got signage on the 50-yard or the sideline or in the stadium on the seats and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Y'all do know the students gonna still drink. Y'all do know that on Monday mornings, the yard staff have to go through and pick up beer bottles. Now have you know that refusal left the university at least 50 years behind. Now maybe, okay, not 50, I ain't that old, but I'm saying they still stuck with an old stadium to this day. And so I'm just like, but that's what I mean. You get stuck inside a narrative that people push onto you, that curriculums push onto us. And then we can't think outside the box. Now that's when you know you've been sipping too much Jim Jones Kool-Aid. That Kool-Aid is strong. It's quite flavorful. But let's not forget it was made by Jim Jones. He had the best Kool-Aid. The best. Now this also brings to mind a certain mathematical formula that I learned from a very diligent scholar and leader of the black community, or at least segments and parts of the black community. Now I jumped off the soapbox, but I do know a lot of y'all don't necessarily have the appropriate appreciation for the brother I'm about to name drop in a minute, but hey, look, truth is truth. Facts are facts. But so as we are talking about this whole, like Jim Jones got the best Kool-Aid, and we get so stuck inside these narratives, what it reminds me of is this mathematical formula that I learned through my associations and my learning squads with the Nation of Islam. Elijah Muhammad's teachings. You know, he said 85% of the community, 85% of our dear brothers and sisters are blind. Y'all remember Flavor Flav? You're blind, baby. You're blind to the facts. 85% of our people are blind. They're lost in the triple stages of darkness. 10% of our brothers and sisters are not blind, are not lost in triple stages of darkness. They're fully aware. They got the knowledge. They got the wisdom. They got the understanding. But this 10%, they are very willfully exploitive of the 85%. Now, this is not just a formula that applies to the black community. This applies to any community. You got the powerful elites. You got the poor, righteous teachers. And do not excuse the pun. I'm talking about the hip hop group, and I'm talking about the people that know what needs to be done and they get the job done. Those 5%. The only group that's left. 85 is blind, deaf, and dumb, lost in the triple stages of darkness. 10% got the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, but they use it to exploit their brothers and sisters. And 5% know the truth. They got the knowledge, the wisdom, and understanding, and they use it to liberate your minds. That's a little jewel I learned from Elijah Muhammad. You may also attribute it to the 5% nation of gods and earths. Shout out, peace to all the positive people in the universe. But I'm saying, when you get yourself to a point, like I said earlier, if you're contemplating, maybe I need to leave this country, but you can't understand, you don't got the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to perceive that your evacuation route might be towards a black nation, you stuck inside that 85%. You are stuck. You need to get up outside that box. So that's what I'm imploring. You can go to the rally if you want to. You cannot go to the rally if you want to. I would say, whether you go or not, you need to get with the rest of your black brothers and sisters. Make sure that y'all are, we are working on a plan because wave two is coming. Make no mistake about it. Wave two is on the way. And even though I disagree with some of those other folk who have said, what y'all waiting for? Y'all know they coming for you too. Yeah, we know. We always know. We always know they coming for us. I'm just saying, I hope that we getting prepared. Now, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, pro-black people all over the world, all over the Pan-African black world, and anybody else, if none of those adjectives and superlatives fit you, anybody else that looks past and looks beyond the smoke and mirrors, if anything I said stuck with you, if anything I said resonated, if you relate to anything I said, send this video, send this channel, send this link to a friend. Send it to 5 friends. Like, share, and subscribe is the name of the game. Send this to someone who might resonate and join again. Join me for my next episode. You've been listening to your brother Shabazz. Sometimes they call me Proper. Sometimes they call me Professor W. Sometimes they call me Professor Shabazz. But you've been listening to your brother Shabazz. This is the Proper Perspective. And I'm about to sign on up out of here. I appreciate you for watching. I appreciate Shadow Band for dropping comments in the chat room. I appreciate everybody on TikTok for listening. I got a question for you. I would like for you to respond. As I opened up, I want to see a comment on my comment page. How y'all feel about this statement? We done dying for y'all. Peace.